so we're getting these fuel lines changed. There was a ton of spider webs down there, so that should be mostly taken care of. I haven't seen any spiders lately. We did set off a bug bomb when we brought the car home. We set off a bug bomb inside while it was parked outside. So that was something else that we didn't show, but we did do that. I sprayed under it with a bug bomb, or I actually set one off underneath it once it was in the garage too. So I've just seen spider webs and no spiders in a while, so that's pretty good too. So it should be all cleaned out. I did get a tire taken off to get to this fuel line, and let's take a look at it now. All right, so let's get some light on this. Alrighty, so that fuel line right there where my light is, let's see if I can focus on it. I'm doing this, holding the flashlight and the camera, so let's see. There we go. So that right there is that fuel line that we're going to be replacing. I have never replaced this fuel line, and I'm going to guess that whoever had this car last didn't replace it for a long time either. So it's a rubber line. If we kind of come back this way, let's see. You'll see that it is right there as well. So that's the rubber line, and there is a kind of protective sleeve as well. That sleeve is actually supposed to be up behind there on the metal part of the firewall, and it's not over there. I actually ordered some more of those, so we'll be installing those. But yeah, that's that metal line to the rubber line connection right there. It is very hard to see, and I know that. We'll try to put like the GoPro in there or something for this next part where I'm actually replacing it. With the tire off, it is pretty easy to replace, it looks like, so we'll get in there now and get it swapped. Probably have some gas come through, of course, but we'll get that fixed along the way. So let's get into it. What we'll do is we're actually going to measure on the car what size this line is. So let me get that line because we're going to measure it. That way I can automatically get one on just in case gas is coming out. That line is super dry. You can see it cracking. Oh, this piece of hose is like ancient. We're gonna have some gas. There we go. We got some gas coming out now, which is okay. Because I'm gonna go ahead and get this new line on. It's gonna start coming out that end, and we'll get it in the gas can. Cool. And last time I was talking about hose clamps. I was talking about how it's a 6mm, take them off. These are the old ones though. I don't know what size it is because none of what I have is working. I think they're rounded actually. So yeah. We're having to flathead these, which is fun. And now I think we should be able to get this hard line out. So if I kind of yank on it, there it is. There's that hard line. So once again, this is basically a brake line hooked to a rubber hose. So yeah, we'll throw it on the ground and take a look at it. So there's that old hard line, all bent. We'll get that replaced with our nice one now. All right, so we have the steel fuel line here, or I don't even think it's steel, metal fuel line. And then the spacers that I ordered go to the frame. So these spacers right here, let's see. They actually go into something on the bug called a tunnel. So all these bugs have this tunnel that runs down the middle of them where the brake lines go through and the fuel lines, which is really cool. I ordered the spacer that goes on there, which needs replaced anyway. This one's still pretty pliable, thankfully, that goes on the firewall. So I'm just gonna pop that back in, and then this steel line, well, I keep saying steel line, metal line will actually go down through, and then it'll sit in there. We're going to bend this other part out straight. Right here, it's pretty pliable to get a pretty right angle turn there once we have it in. So it is pretty bendable, so we'll get that done now, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, looking at this line versus the old one is pretty much the same length actually, but it does have that screw on the end, which is a brake screw, and then it had a flared fitting as well. So it wasn't exactly what we were supposed to have. Here's the old fuel line. If you bend it, you will start to see it crack. That's no good. That's dangerous. It's less of a fire hazard under the car, but still dangerous nonetheless. So yeah, we just got to get this bent out and fed through. And yeah, like I said, it's probably not steel because it is super pliable. There we go. And then that could route right through, and then it'll just set in there. And this metal line takes all that pressure for us. So we go and get this spacer popped in. Awesome. And this metal fuel line's meant to take all that punishment of moving around while driving, so that we don't have a rubber fuel line taking all that. And that's kind of how that'll sit. It'll just kind of sit right in here, and it'll feed right to the fuel pump with a little piece of hose. So I'll end up just kind of leaving that like that. We'll wrap the wires around it probably, and then we'll just have that going right to the hose, the rubber hose now. And in this case, since I already have my hose over here, I know that I'm going to need about that much, so we'll get that trimmed off. That way this side's good as well, and then we'll get the other side hooked. So making progress on this back part's fuel lines at least. Alright, so we're back under the car, and we had a little bit of a situation where this thing had more than a gallon of gas in it, so that was overflowing. So now I have it capped with a pencil to keep it from draining. Pretty crazy. So it looks like I do have too long a piece because I kind of didn't account for this new metal piece being so long. So we can see that I need to make it a little less length to it. Yeah, so we will just kind of cut a shorter one. I will still use that line, I'm assuming, but just to make sure it's good, we're going to go ahead and cut a shorter piece at this time. And this guy should just slip right over this metal line right here. Cool, so now we have that. We'll get a hose clamp on there. I'll go a little further. Cool, so we'll get a hose clamp on there, and then we'll get that hooked to the hose or to the tunnel. Alright, so I just busted off that little rubber gasket that goes to this tunnel because I have a new one. So I just kind of ripped it off because we're going to have to be quick and swap this out once I take that hose off. We're going to get some gas coming out, I assume. So we're going to try to do this as fast as we can and go from there. I thought I drained all the gas, but it had more than I thought. So I'll try to get clips of this, but this is kind of a two-handed job. Alright, so that was a success. We didn't drip a whole lot of gas after all. That's awesome. So we have that rubber on. I gotta get that connected. I'll get a hose clamp on. And yeah, we have a whole hose soaked in gas over here, but that's good progress. So that's where that hard line goes to, about right there. So actually, if I can get a little more out of it, I'd like to. There we go. And these under the bug or undercarriage lines, you really shouldn't need to do them as much. It's definitely exposed to a lot less of the heat and movement of like the engine bay, and there's nothing really down here to spark. Inside the engine bay, as you saw before, the fuel line was right next to all these electrical components. Down here it's a little more contained, so less worrisome. Like I said, I don't know that this one's been replaced in a very long time, so it was time. And now we have it replaced. We have the hard line replaced with the grommet. That grommet's going to be shoved in there now. So that's in there to protect that hard line. And we have that soft line replaced as well. So yeah, I don't know how much of that showed on video, but it is done. We're going to get this tire back on and then we'll get the front one stuck. So another thing that I realized I didn't do after I did the fuel pump is I didn't cross it off. So I'm going to go ahead and cross that off now. That's kind of the excitement of finishing things off, is you got to cross it off, right? And we're like halfway through on this one, so we're like right here. We'll get that crossed out here soon.